Hello everyone, Dr. Suneel Dhand, internal medicine physician. Welcome to another video. I'd like to think those of you who follow me here do so because you want open, honest debate. You want to come to your own conclusions. You don't want things shoved in your face. You want to hear things that are not being widely reported in our totally corrupt mainstream media. On that note, let me share with you a story which was sporadically reported over the last few weeks, but didn't get as much attention as it deserved, as these stories never do, unfortunately. Now, I've talked a fair bit about the rises in excess deaths, focusing mostly on cardiac deaths, cardiac arrests, heart attacks, etc. It's all very sad. But another absolutely devastating condition is stroke. And dare I say that most people watching probably have someone in their life, they know of someone who has suffered with a stroke. It can be absolutely life-changing. People can go from being fully functional to in a nursing home within the space of a few days after suffering from a stroke. So this is not a condition to be taken lightly. So what's been reported then recently about strokes, especially in younger people? Let me share this with you. So here we have an article from Fox News published very recently. Reports reveal the risk for strokes is on the rise in young adults. The American Stroke Association reports strokes in ages 49 and younger has continued to increase over the last 30 years. So we're talking about people under the age of 50. Now, traditionally, for most people, when you hear the word stroke, you think of an older person. But no, it is happening in people younger and younger these days. May is National Stroke Awareness Month, and along with education on strokes, doctors are looking for answers to why strokes are happening in younger patients. The American Stroke Association reports more strokes in adults under 50. And they talk about a case here, a tragic case of a young man only 29 years old who suffered with a life-changing stroke. So as always, when you see a story reported in a mainstream media publication, no matter what publication it is, never trust it completely. Always go to the actual source of information and check that out. So let's do that here. So here's the piece. Stroke hospitalizations rising among younger adults, but deaths are falling. Stroke hospitalizations for younger adults, along with the cardiovascular risk factors associated with them, have risen since 2007. Preliminary new research shows. But the chances of people under age 45 dying from a stroke in the hospital have dropped. So clearly this is a trend which appears to have been going on for a long time. But what are the specific numbers? So here we have this paragraph. Overall, the rate of stroke hospitalizations among younger adults was low, but it increased by nearly 50% from 2007 to 2017. That is a crazy number. The rise was especially high among women and for white and Hispanic adults. Stroke hospitalizations rose 78% for women compared to 58% for men. They climbed 77% for white adults and 70% for Hispanic adults, while increasing 56% for black adults. The increase was smallest, 29% for Asian and Pacific Islander adults. Those are devastating numbers, and if you have a peruse online, you will find these sporadic stories of an increase in strokes, especially among younger people. It has been reported, again, it hasn't got enough attention. And if you look at what the experts are blaming for this, well, they're focusing on lifestyle factors, which I actually agree with. If we're looking at long-term trends, we'll focus more on that in a little bit. There are many lifestyle factors which lead to an increased risk for strokes. But specifically over the last couple of years, they are also blaming the pandemic virus for the rise in strokes. Here's one article from last year, deadly type of stroke increasing among younger and middle-aged adults. They're talking specifically about intracerebral hemorrhage, which is actually a brain bleed, and that is a stroke which occurs less often than a stroke due to a blood vessel blockage or a blood clot, but they're talking about an increase over the last decade and a half. But how about specifically over the last couple of years? What has been said so far? Well, here we have an article on the CDC website, the CDC themselves. Stroke mortality among black and white adults aged over 35 years before and during the pandemic. And this piece here is highlighted. During the pandemic period, an estimated 3,835 excess stroke deaths occurred among black adults, 9.4% more than expected, and 15,125 among white adults, 6.9% more than expected. And it doesn't say the age range there, it just says over the age of 35. But I would class really anyone under the age of 60 as being a younger person having a stroke. So as I've said many times before, data collection in the United States is absolutely atrocious. I wish that wasn't the case, but when we're looking at medical and scientific trends, we have to rely on these smaller European countries. So let's take a look at what's been said, especially over the last couple of years. So here's a piece on the United Kingdom government website, Office for National Statistics, stroke sufferers in England 2020 compared to 2021. And somebody asked the question, could you tell me an estimate for number of people who suffered from a stroke in England in 2020 compared to 2021? And they said, unfortunately, we do not hold information on those who have suffered with stroke, nor are we able to estimate the prevalence of strokes. That is extremely disappointing if you ask me. So there are many different types of strokes, as I touched upon there. They can be categorized differently. You can have a mini stroke, which is called a TIA, transient ischemic attack. And by definition, the symptoms of a TIA resolve within 24 hours. Beyond that, you have a full-blown stroke, what is called a CVA, cerebrovascular accident. And as I also touched upon, you can either have a stroke due to a blood clot or a blood vessel blockage. Those are the majority of strokes. Or you can have a stroke due to a brain bleed, an intracerebral hemorrhage. But they are both classed as strokes. And in terms of symptoms of strokes, which we should all be familiar with, as I said, most of you have probably dealt with this sadly in your life because strokes are fairly common. Although when we think of stroke, we are usually thinking about an older person, not a younger person. So what are these symptoms to watch out for? Well, the number one symptom is weakness, usually on one side of the body, the arm or leg, or you can get a facial droop, you can get difficulty speaking, garbled speech, you can have disturbances in vision, blurred vision, etc. It really depends on where the stroke is in the brain. You can even present with altered mental status, confusion. But the one which we need to be most familiar with is weakness or garbled speech. In my experience, those are the two most common symptoms that people come in with. So we all need to be on the lookout. It is very sad indeed that younger and younger people are having strokes. And in terms of risk factors, this is my specialty, my area of expertise, lifestyle medicine and metabolic health. Lifestyle factors are absolutely huge in terms of increasing the risk of stroke. So I've talked a lot in many videos about what good metabolic health entails, a real food diet, low in ultra-processed, pro-inflammatory foods, maintain an optimal weight, get out there, exercise as much as possible, work on any stress in your life because stress will also raise your blood pressure, and having a high blood pressure is one of the number one risk factors for strokes. Other risk factors include any sort of cardiac rhythm disorder like atrial fibrillation, drugs, recreational drugs, alcohol, and even therapeutic drugs. This is why my whole mantra is to be as natural as possible. You don't want to be on any drug or therapeutic unless you really need to, because lots of them will tend to thicken the blood. And at the end of the day, it's an artificial substance in your body that will come with consequences. So you want to do everything possible to lower your risk of strokes. Control those risk factors that we all know about. And in terms of what's happened over the last couple of years specifically, and the rises in strokes that we've seen, we still haven't got full data yet, but there has been a rise in strokes over the last 2 to 3 years. Those factors I can save for another place and another time. All of the unique pandemic factors which have increased the risk of people having strokes. But fewer things could be more devastating than a young person having a stroke. Thanks everyone for listening. Let me know your thoughts down below. Check out my online course and my Uncensored platform. Those links are down below. Remember, huge swathes of the medical establishment are completely and utterly corrupt. And one of the best things you can do for your health and your family's health is to be as healthy as possible. Make the right decisions every single day so you have the best possible chance of staying at optimal health and staying away from mainstream medicine and doctors. Hit the like button if you like this video and the bell button for more similar videos in the future. We will talk again very soon.